The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of KSMQ Public Service Media Incorporated or its assigns.
Welcome to On Cue. I'm your host, Eric Olson. Today we are going to learn about how military families in our area cope with deployment before, during, and after. You'll learn what you can do to help your neighbors who may be impacted by these changes. Stephnee Leathers joins us to talk about Vision 2020's activities in downtown Austin, but first, we'll start the show with an energetic conversation about intentional social interaction. It's happening in Austin right now. It's regarding education. Stay tuned. On Cue is next.
From KSMQ Television in Austin, this is On Cue, connecting interesting issues and interesting people. On Cue.
And welcome. In 2012, Growth and Justice published a report on describing progress being made by community engagement initiatives toward improving student success and closing achievement and attainment gaps in an increasingly diverse Greater Minnesota. This conversation has come to Austin, and recently, several groups sponsored a dinner that brought together many stakeholders through the community. Here to tell us more about it are Dane Smith, President of Growth and Justice, and Dani, Heiny, Director of Retention and Student Success, Riverland Community College. Welcome to you both.
Hi, thanks, Eric. How are you?
Very good, thanks. And Dane, talk a little bit about your organization, what its mission is, really, for folks that don't know about it.
Well, the elevator speech goes like this. Growth and Justice was founded about 12 years ago. We're a public policy research organization and advocacy, and we really want to build bridges and get beyond the ideologies that divide us in public policy. We have profound respect for the public sector and the private sector both. The ampersand is actually the most important word in our label. The and is what we need to have. We need public and private partnerships, we need profits, but we also need taxes and public investment because it's good for business. And we think the biggest problem facing our state is rising inequality. It's on everybody's lips. Report after report bears this truth out. And so it's not only just overall economic inequality that we need to reduce, restore the middle class, but it's racial disparities that concern us. And we really need to eliminate racial disparities.
And when you talk about access to education, Dani, is that the diversity component looms large in your mind?
Yes, it does, Eric, and it's diversity on a lot of different levels. It's the socioeconomic level, it's the ethnic and racial level, and it's also what we call first generation, where students whose families did not have an opportunity to go to college, those families, because the parents haven't had the experience to lead and guide and mentor their children, there's a gap there. And so that's another part of access.
Mm-hmm. And so how does a group like Dane's work with the local community, with Austin and the surrounding region, and your role at Riverland and elsewhere?
Well, first of all, the research piece that Growth and Justice provides, and they've done many, many research studies that give us the data and that document these issues and the various gaps and the opportunities to address those gaps. And also the leadership in connecting the community statewide who are working. They have a collective impact model, and I believe there are at least 8 who are exemplary in the state of Minnesota. And so bringing all of the experiences, the successes, and the things that those communities have struggled with to Austin gives us just a huge leg up in bringing this collective community impact model to our families.
And Dane, as a precursor to this question, I mean, in Austin, my son's in the middle school there, and they have 53 different languages.
Yes.
Between dialects, I think if you take it, it's 16 major languages.
16, right.
But still, that's a wonderful, I mean, it's an opportunity. He likes it, but
it is.
As an educator and as a community, dealing with all of the different places where these people come to town from, it's a challenge, isn't it?
It is a challenge, but first it's an asset to have this diversity. The United States and Minnesota is quickly joining the global economy, and diversity will be an asset as we integrate with the world's economy. And Mower County actually is ahead of the curve in diversity. I just looked this up. The non-white, non-Latino percentage or the white population in Mower County is actually a little lower than the statewide average in Austin. As we've gotten to know this community, we had this wonderful event recently with the South Sudanese and the Latino community energetically joining in a collaboration and a conversation about how to improve their children's outcomes. It's just really exciting to see, and we're seeing it all over the state. It's in these kinds of community organizations setting up roadmaps for specific goals for achievement and outcomes. It's popping up in St. Cloud, Grand Rapids, Northfield, Red Wing, Worthington, Wilmer. All of the more diverse communities are really starting to get ahead of the curve on this.
And is this what you call intentional social interaction, or where's that term, where's that come from, and is that what you mean?
This is actually a concept developed by our partner in this recent event that we had. It's called Marnita's Table. And you put on a big buffet and you have signs all around the room that point to the public policy questions at hand having to do with diversity and education and so forth. And you kind of nudge people along to meet people, move around to other tables, eat, really break bread and break the ice between and amongst each other over issues in a community. And our event was just, I was just blown away by the warmth and the camaraderie that we saw developing from folks who said they hadn't talked to each other before.
And it would seem like such a simple thing, a small thing, but it's huge.
One really powerful piece of the intentional social interaction, and Marnita Schradel, who's invented this model, calls it ISI for short, the ISI. And at the end of the event, the turnout far exceeded our expectations, and was so powerful because everyone joined in a circle at the end, and people talked about one thing that they could do personally to make education a stronger component of the fiber of Austin in this area.
We're talking about developing community and education success in Austin with Dane Smith, President of Growth and Justice, and Dani, Heiny, Director of Retention and Student Success at Riverland Community College. So what's next, Dane Smith? Where do we go from here? You've had a successful event.
Yes.
Things are moving, but what would next steps be?
We hope to bring another event like this before long, sometime in the next year or so, to Austin, to build on that success. But we are really encouraged by the launch of Austin Aspires, yes, which is part of the Vision 2020 process. Austin Aspires is one of 5 sort of franchises in the state. I mentioned before Grand Rapids, St. Cloud, Northfield, Red Wing, and Austin. Each have these highly organized, collaborative efforts to drive student success, improve the performance of all students on a variety of measures, but especially close those gaps for low-income kids and kids of color. And so this model is called Strive Together. It's a national thing that's growing. It's part of a national movement. Minnesota's ahead of most other states in the developing of these. The Twin Cities has its own model called Generation Next, led by former Mayor Ryback. And Austin is right there on the cutting edge with Austin Aspires.
So it's a curriculum also? It's like trying to get all of the schools and the grades to talk to each other?
That gets at part of it. It is a roadmap from birth to post-secondary completion and it involves action networks, people who work on the early childhood piece, people who work on the early grades and middle grades, tutoring and mentoring, and then moving to post-secondary completion. It's teams of people working to get schools, religious communities, nonprofits, all kind of coordinating and collaborating so that work is not duplicated and that kids really are being reached.
This cradle to career model is something that the college is very, very interested in, and we've learned, from research from DEED that by 2018, 74% of the jobs in Minnesota are going to require some education beyond high school. And so it's not just a nice to do thing. This is so needed. It is a necessary action to keep Minnesota strong, keep our employers supplied with high skilled employees who can go after those high wage jobs, which are that's what makes Minnesota strong. Having an engaged workforce, and with the baby boomers retiring and other things happening in the state demographically with the growth. I think our unemployment rate is down to like 5% or 5 point something. And we need everybody engaged and able to be a productive part of our society. And so this cradle to career model of really serving people along that continuum and moving them forward in successful, measurable outcomes is something that's going to make not only Austin, but the state much stronger and strengthen families as well.
Is there an overview of this on Growth and Justice on your website or Vision 2020, both presumably?
Yes, growthandjustice.org. You'll see a recent op-ed that I wrote about the sharp rise in diversity in greater Minnesota, a map showing 1980, 2010, 2040 projected. You'll see this 87 state or county map just looking like a crazy quilt, really diverse. More than 20 counties with a population, or the non-white population of between 20 and 50%. Of course, Mower County's already approaching 20% or over in Austin.
Dane Smith, President of Growth and Justice, and Dani Heiny, Director of Retention and Student Success at Riverland. Thank you both. All right, stay with us. Tammy Estes from Military Personnel Services Corp. is up next to talk about how we can all help military families cope with deployment. That's next.
You can watch On Cue anytime by visiting the KSMQ TV website, ksmq.org.
And welcome back to On Cue. It is always a difficult transition for a military family. You head out of town, out of the country for a determined period, sometimes years. You never know when you're getting back home. Then you come back home, and it takes time to readjust to society. And Tammy Estes helps a lot of those folks in our region with that difficult role. Welcome to On Cue.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And talk about your role. You actually have three different kind of supervisors, if you will, for this area. You help a lot of people. Talk about your role.
Well, I'm the Family Readiness Support Assistant, and I'm contracted through MPSC. So my job is I work with the commanders, the units, and the family readiness groups. So my primary focus is to focus on the families, and this allows the commanders to be able to focus training on their soldiers. So I push out information and trainings and everything for families to be able to live part of this unique military lifestyle. And when the soldiers know that the families are being taken care of, then they can do their mission.
And you're doing this with life experience of your own.
Yes. My husband's in the military, and then I also have a brother that's active duty.
So what are the big challenges? We were talking before we went on the air. You see the happy soldiers getting off the plane, sometimes on the news, with the joyous family and the reunion, and you just figure everything's hunky-dory after that.
Yes.
But not always.
Not always. There's actually 3 stages of deployment. There's a pre-deployment, the actual deployment, and the reintegration. And a lot of the military families that you'll talk to will say that the reintegration part is the hardest part, harder than the deployment. Like you said, when you see a lot of times on the media, you see the homecomings and the happiness.
Sure.
But once you get home, then that's when things happen. That's when the reintegration starts. So you have that soldier that's been gone for a year coming into a family that, you know, the family's taken on responsibilities. The son may be taking out the garbage now, and the wife's taking over the checkbook. And the soldier comes home, and it's time to readjust, and they have to learn what they call the new normal. This new normal of their family life can take anywhere from a year to 5 years.
So how do they do that? I mean, do they go to classes, or I'm very naive on this, but it must be just, you're almost a different person.
Right, exactly. Well, Minnesota is great because we have the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon program, and what this does is help service members and family members learn to live as a military family. So when you're on an active duty post, you're a soldier, if they're deployed, your next door neighbor may be going through the same thing. Or
everybody understands.
Everyone understands when you're on an active duty post. When you're here in Minnesota, your next door neighbor may not know how it is to have your soldier deployed, or the person standing next to you at Walmart doesn't know how it is to have your daughter deployed. So what Beyond the Yellow Ribbon does is help service members and family members. They do trainings through every cycle of this deployment. So they have reintegration academies where you can learn that it's okay if you're not connecting with your spouse. That's normal. So they give you services and places to go to get help. Beyond the Yellow Ribbon also has community partners out there, the community networks. And so that's what's important for something like Minnesota. We have 63 communities that house an armory across the state of Minnesota. Each one of these communities actually has a Beyond the Yellow Ribbon that they're accessible to. With these communities, there's education, there's the police officers, there are the faith-based communities. Everyone comes together to help provide these services and counseling services for the soldier.
So when they get back, somebody's telling them, now call this person. Do they get together physically at all and discuss their situation, or is it like a hotline when they're in a trouble situation?
Well, if a family member or a service member, there's a couple of different options we can go to. You can go to the beyondtheyellowribbon.org website, and it's a wealth of information that has all of these communities, the lines and phone numbers that you can get a hold of someone in the community. There's also what we call the Family Assistance Centers, and they are located throughout the state. And these people have contacts for everyone around the state and local. So if in doubt, you can always go and call the Family Assistance Center, and they will put you in touch. If you need counseling services for relationships or for financial avenues, they can help you with that. And the Family Assistance Centers they're partners with Beyond the Yellow Ribbon communities, and so they're always talking with each other, so they're able to put you in touch with your local community. Especially down here in the southern region, you always hear about the metro having all these services, and down here in the southern region, that's why we need these local communities for Beyond the Yellow Ribbon.
How did you get involved in it? Was it just because of your experience firsthand?
I was an FRG leader, which is a family readiness group leader, and then I helped with the families, and then this job came open through MPSC, and I applied for it, and I got it. So.
Because I would think, selfishly, I would think, when my family's taken care of, I don't want to be around any more of these problems.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? That's great that you want to
Yes.
do it, but how do you cope?
I'm kind of opposite. That's my passion. I love to work with military families and to give them the information and the education to get through. And
You've
to
probably
cope.
seen a lot of success stories where you've been able to help.
Oh, definitely. And working with the Family Assistance Centers and working with Beyond the Yellow Ribbons. And one thing that's important to know is that it's not just for the National Guard. These services are provided for what we call Purple. And Purple means that it's all branches of the military. It is the active duty components. It's the Army, the National Guard, the Reserves, the Coast Guard, everyone. So everyone that's living around, if you're in Minnesota, the vets, these services are for them. So, for instance, we were helping with the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. There was an active duty wife that came to Albert Lea to spend some time with her family, and she had 2 preemie babies, and they were able to help get her transportation to Rochester to get what she needed. And it's just great. There's lots of great success stories. So.
And we're speaking with Tammy Estes, the Family Readiness Support Assistant from the Military Personnel Services Corporation. You help all the military when they come back from their service. And what about the other side of the soldier's family? I would call them the forgotten servants, the forgotten soldiers, the ones who are home with the family, with the kids. You know, their loved one is fighting or overseas deployed, and then they come back. Hey, they've been deployed too, sort of, in a way.
Yeah, and that's part of my job, is to help that these families have the resources and the counseling services and just the information to know where to go to get help.
And do they start with, do they go online and send you an email? How do the military families get through to you when they need help?
Well, and the first thing they can be to make sure that you're connected with your FRGs, which is your family readiness groups within your unit. So they're the ones that's going to have the information for your particular unit. And they're the ones that I pass down the information through to. So with my job, I work more of the military side to help to make sure that these families get the information they need.
Okay. And what about civilians? Is there a role for them? Somebody may be watching this program and say, gee, I'm not in the military, but I'd sure like to help somehow.
Definitely. One thing to remember that there's always different cycles of the deployment, like I talked about. So even though I may not have a soldier family deployed, there's still things that the civilian people can help with. If you want to be a part of the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon network, if you have a business, make sure that you connect with your Beyond the Yellow Ribbon community.
And the family assistance centers, how many of those are there?
There are 8 located throughout the state. Our closest one for our region is in Mankato, and he also does through Rochester as well.
And that's walk-in, or do you need an appointment for those folks?
No, you can walk in at any time, and they're on call 24/7. So the numbers that are online, it's 24/7. Even if, like our local regional one, his name is Pat Coro, if he's not there, his phone will roll over to someone else. So if you have, you need assistance right away, you can call that number, and someone's on call 24/7.
All right. Well, one more. Did you have something else? Did you have another piece of information?
I was just going to say again, it's for all service members and family members, and that's confidential. So anything that if you need help with, and it's there for them.
Great, Tammy. Well, thank you very much for your service. Tammy Estes, and check out the website. It's a co-op. It's not just your group, Beyond the Yellow Ribbon. There's several service organizations.
Again, on that Beyond the Yellow Ribbon website, you have youth and family programs is on there. You have the family assistance centers and all the communities around the Beyond the Yellow Ribbon network.
Okay. Tammy Estes, Family Readiness Support Assistant with the Military Personnel Services Corporation. And we will be back with our Vision 2020 update when On Cue returns.
Queue up your own comments for On Cue and send them to us at onq@ksmq.org. On Cue's Vision 2020 segment is brought to you by Hormel Foundation, Games People Play, and Turtle Creek Estates.
And welcome back to On Cue. Time now for our weekly Vision 2020 update, and Stephnee Leathers joins us from Downtown, a Destination, to give us an update on downtown.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here and gearing up for a summer full of fun, stuff happening. You're trying to create events that bring people downtown. That's kind of the goal in the summertime, I would imagine.
And we hope the weather's going to be nice by then. We're hoping we're going to have an event, a summer kickoff event, the last Friday of May. And we're expanding upon last year's event and having live music starting around 5 p.m. and expanded family activities for children and families to really come down and enjoy Main Street and hopefully some good weather.
Now that closes down, the street closes down and everything?
We will. We'll close down Main Street and open it up to just enjoy the music and have some good fun.
And how will the bank building, now will that be the art, will that be open for like art?
I think the bank building project will still be in progress, so probably not be open at that time. But as you know, they're doing a lot right now in terms of events and creating that buzz around the Art Center.
Okay. And common misconception that the downtown needs businesses or that there are empty storefronts. Not necessarily the case.
That's true. It's actually a myth. We only have a few vacancies downtown, and we've had a lot of retention in the businesses that we have. And the committee is working really hard to create events and opportunities for new businesses and bring people downtown.
And you work with Main Street also. Just delineate a little bit of that difference, because there's another organization too.
The Austin Main Street Project, yes, we do work in conjunction with them, and they do a great job. They're going to start a rehab project on the Hill Larson building, that corner area that will start this summer as well. So getting a little bit of a facelift there.
And volunteers welcome to the Downtown A Destination Committee.
Always welcome. We've had a few new volunteers, and we just love the energy and enthusiasm that new people bring. So whatever time you have, we will take it.
And you meet monthly,
We meet monthly, sometimes twice monthly, but usually about once a month. Yep.
Okay, great. And contact information for volunteers, would that come through the website, Vision 2020?
Vision 2020 website. If it's Destination Downtown, you'll see my name and Sarah Dowdy, my co-chair.
Wonderful. Well, Stephnee Leathers, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All
Appreciate
right.
it.
And that'll do it for this edition of On Cue. I'm Eric Olson. See you again next time.
On Cue is a production of KSMQ Television in Austin, nonprofit public television.